Hey y'all, this is Amanda with She's a Mad Gardener. I am out on a Saturday evening. It's in the 80s today, which is really great, and we're starting to run into somewhat of fall temps for Texas, if you want to call them that. 80, yes, that is our fall temps. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a really hard cutback on a bunch of my zinnias, and then I'm going to do an ombre arrangement. So I'm going to fade from light into dark tones with all my zinnias, and it's just going to be a full zinnia design, no greenery, no other florals, nothing, just all zinnias. And so basically what I do is when I'm going to go out and cut flowers, I start with a good sized bucket that I fill with water so that as soon as I cut a bloom, it can go directly into the bucket, which is great. Now zinnias, they're really prolific. So when I come in and cut, I obviously don't want to cut like all the way down here at the end of this stem, but I do want to cut down to an area where we could perhaps get another stem out. So something along those lines. Then what I'll do is I'll strip off the greenery because I don't need any of that. And then it goes immediately into the bucket like that. And I'll just keep going with that, trimming things up. Here's another one. I'm going to strip off all the leaves on it. I just kind of run my hand down the stem and then I pop it in the bucket like that, straight into water. Did have a bunch of these sunflowers which have come up. These are Pro-Cut Plum sunflowers. However, I planted them too close together and they just came up really tiny, but they're still really sweet. So I hope that I'll do something with them, maybe an arrangement over the next few days. But other than that, I'm gonna get going on the zinnias. Okay, these are a cherry lime zinnia. They're new for me this year. Really like the depth of color. It's definitely more of like a, has a little bit more burgundy tone in it, pretty vivid. The blooms are pretty fantastic. They have kind of a bulb shaped look, almost like a pom-pom kind of feel. And they've done really, really well this year for me. I'm definitely gonna plant them again next year. Okay, those darker pink ones that I was cutting in the background, those are called Purple Prince zinnias. They've come back year after year for me. So everything you see back over here was just went to seed at the end of last season. I didn't replant or reseed anything. They just all came back, which is fabulous. These are new for me next year. These are from Park Seeds. These are polar bear, excuse me, I take that back. These are Park's white zinnias. And so it's just kind of their premium zinnia package. They have done fabulous. I've cut and cut and cut and cut on these and they have just done brilliantly. all my zinnias, I'm going to start by dividing them up from dark to light. So I'm going to work from my left to my right. I'm going to put my darkest blooms, and then I'm going to gradually fade through medium pink, light pink, and into white. So I have them in groupings. And after I do that, then I'm going to start arranging them in a design. Okay, so I'm going to be working in an ombre pattern. You can see I have the white, I have the light pink, kind of a medium pink, a little bit darker, and then finally the darkest tone. All right, so I have them bundled in all of my little piles. All right. From here, I'm going to be working on a hand-tied design, meaning I'm going to be working within my hand. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to keep the design mainly in my left hand, and I'm going to utilize my right hand to insert the flowers. When you're designing and holding a bouquet within your hand and designing with your own hand, you don't want to grip the stems really hard like this. The idea being that you have a kind of an open hand, and you're possibly gripping with just your pointing finger and your thumb, maybe bringing in your middle finger if you have smaller hands. And then you'll insert designs, and you'll continually turn the bouquet as you're working and insert flowers. So go ahead and watch how I go about this. All right, I'm going to pause for a second. You can see I've started with white on one side, and then I've gone to the lighter pink. So I'm going to keep working across the design, turning it and putting in blooms, whites by whites, lights by lights, mediums by mediums, and darks by darks, and keep working across this bouquet. My overall goal is not a round shape. I like more organic, kind of interesting structures. So I'm going to keep working and turning this bouquet, and you'll kind of see how it all comes together. Sometimes you can reach in with just your two fingers. I guess this is what the Star Trek thing. And I can lift the blooms up a little bit to raise them up so that they don't sink into the design. You don't have to have them all on the same level, but you can have them at different levels, which adds some depth and interest. I don't know if I'm going to use every single bloom, but I'm going to try, because I'm going big, go big or go home on this design. You can also go back, and if you feel like there's a hole in the area of your bouquet, you can actually insert the stem like this, work it into that space. As I'm working, you can see that all of my stems are going the same direction. That keeps your bouquet nice and pretty, makes it easy to tie off. Okay, let's start moving towards some of these darker blooms. These are those cherry lime zinnias. Just love them. They're such fun flower. They just had kind of this wine color to them that is just stunning. See how I'm maneuvering my flowers out a little bit more from my design to kind of bring down the shape right here. All right, let's go back and take a look at this. All right, I'm gonna shift the whole bouquet the other direction so that I can work on this side with the whites, continuing in that same aspect, kind of working them into a unique shape. There's all my white blooms. I'm gonna bring my lighter pinks up. I don't have as many of the light pinks, so I really need to make sure that they stand out and do their job. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna take a couple and work them right into the center here and let them sit on top so that they still continue to give me that fade effect with the other zinnias. Then once again, I'm going to continue to rotate the bouquet so I can see it from multiple angles. Remember, you can go in with your fingers, lift some of the balloons up and out to make them stand out so that they don't look like they're crushed into the design. All right, so I'm getting towards the end. So I really need to start paying attention to my last few blooms. Remember, I am doing an ombre effect, so some dark to light. Make sure that I'm utilizing them in the best combination possible so I can get the most bang for my buck, especially out of these kind of light to medium ones, because I don't have as many of those. Rotate my bouquet again. Use my fingers to bring some of the blooms up and out. And I am really packing them in here, you guys. I would say this is probably 70 stems. So I have a bent stem back here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that bent stem out right there, go back out and adjust, and if I really feel like I don't want to waste that one bent stem, I can work it more into the middle of the design and allow some of the other flowers to support it. Like that. And then that doesn't get wasted. It still looks beautiful, but it's not bent over. Fun, huh? Definitely takes some practice. I do have larger hands, so I do feel like it makes it a little bit easier for me to do a hand-tied design like this. See, I'm just going through it with 2 fingers and just pulling out a few of the blooms to add some more interest and texture. Now you can try to make it in a perfect dome shape if you want. That's just not my preferred design style at this point in time. I will say my design style and choices change as I learn more and develop more. So I'm gonna keep pulling some of these out. It's awesome, right? Okay, so next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a little bit of binding wire. You can use tape, you can use floral tape, you can even just use some twine, and I'm gonna bind this off. And once I've bound it off, I'm gonna trim all the stems and I'm gonna put it in a vessel. Okay, so I've got my vase. I picked this up from somebody's front porch who was just getting rid of a bunch of stuff and posted in my HOA that they were getting rid of it, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll totally take that for free. I've got my bouquet. It's secured right around my hand right now. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of binding wire. This binding wire, you can get at any craft store, and this is basically just a wire with kind of like a paper over the end of it. And I'm gonna wind it around the flowers. I am not going to pull tight on this at all. This is gonna be cut fairly loose. I don't wanna suffocate these flowers, but I do wanna give them just a little bit of support before I trim them and put them into the vase. Now, when I do that, it also allows me to relax my grip, to loosen, and to come back in and move some flowers around should I choose to do so, which I am definitely choosing to do so right now. Remember to look at your design from all angles. Yeah, super pretty. This turned out great. It's such a fun way to clean up your zinnias when it's time to trim them back some so that you can get more blooms. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm actually gonna come across with my clippers. I'm gonna look at the height of the vase, and I want my flowers to sit down on the top of my vase. I don't want them to see the stems in this particular design. So then I'm gonna come through, I'm gonna give them a clean, nice clip. This allows them to get fresh water up in the stems, like that. I'm gonna work them into the vase and then down into it. Loosen it up a little bit, pull up any blooms, because remember I did not tie the binding wire tight, so this allows me some flexibility to go back in and make adjustments where I feel like adjustments are needed. Definitely have some need to be adjusted. Okay. Zinnias are so fun. They're so easy to grow. A lot of the times I don't even throw seeds down. Like, they just reseed themselves. And I did a lot more varieties than I typically do this year. I typically stick to a lot of the brighter pinks because that's my style. I like that. However, I did try to include some more neutral blooms, such as these Park Seed White selection. And that's allowed me to do some different stuff with my design, which I really, really love. All right, but take a look at it. So you see the darker tones fade into the medium, fade into the light, fade into the white. And this is called Ombre. I hope you guys enjoyed all of this. It's fun messing around with these flowers, and I hope you guys will try this out. Don't be intimidated. If you guys are working on your design and it's just not looking good when you're working on your handheld design, just drop all the flowers. Just put them all down, spread them all out, and start over. It's no big deal, no problem. It doesn't have to be set in stone at all. I like to work with this particular design. If you're a beginner, start with your zinnias, because your zinnias are so prolific that you don't have to stress about, like, I cut that one gorgeous bloom and that was it. That's the only bloom I have. Zinnias every couple of weeks. You can come back through and do a whole nother design and try it out again. Thanks you guys, and happy gardening.